Let's say China.
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 China. China.
There are no storm movers, and you can actually see Russia from land here in Alaska.
Go over to China.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Trump statement, tweeting out insults to Angela Merkel. What's he doing?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host.
Yes. Hello, and welcome. I am James Andrews, and you are listening to So This Happened, the only news you need if you cannot talking about the person who had the job before you. It's Tuesday, the 17th of October, 2017, and today the state of Florida has declared a state of emergency, but this time it is not because of a hurricane or any other natural event. It is because a white supremacist rally is set to be there this week. And the governor of Florida, Rick Scott, who is a Republican, has defended calling a state of emergency. He's argued that it is not to do with suppressing the First Amendment. He said in an interview with the Orlando Sentinel today, "I believe in the First Amendment rights that people have. I do expect people to be safe. I don't condone any violence. I'm going to continue with law enforcement to make sure all Floridians are safe." And the University of Florida in Gainesville, where the event is set to take place on Thursday, have said that they are not aware of any specific threat to the rally or people protesting the rally, but Governor Scott warned that a threat of potential emergency is imminent. Now, the chap in charge of organising this white supremacist rally is a gentleman called Richard Spencer. Dick Spencer, I think we'll call him. Actually, we'll just call him Dick. Anyway, Dick is arguing that this is an attempt to suppress his free speech, and he's argued that the order is, in fact, flattering, but probably overkill. Now, Dick was also the man in charge of the Charlottesville rally, which we all know ended in an absolute disaster. He led a group of people there, far-right activists, who chanted "Jews will not replace us" and "Blood and Soil," which is an old Nazi slogan. But it is important to remember that there were some good people there cheering and shouting "Jews will not replace us." We're only talking about the bad people who were chanting "Jews will not replace us," not the good people. But this does bring up an interesting discussion about the First Amendment and what exactly it means, because these are clearly hate groups. I don't think anybody would argue with the fact that a white supremacist group is definitely classified as a hate group. But do they still have the same free speech as Black Lives Matter, for instance? And I actually commend Governor Scott on issuing this state of emergency, because what he's doing is he's not stopping anyone from their free speech. He's saying, no, absolutely, go ahead. You can have the event, you can talk your bullshit nonsense, but just in case things get out of hand because, people in your group are a little bit violent from time to time, we're just going to have a little bit of a safety net, which is the National Guard, who will be there because a state of emergency has been declared. It's not stopping anyone's free speech. So Dick, who's arguing there, but it's it's an assault on my free speech and my First Amendment rights. Well, of course it's not. You're allowed to do it. You are allowed to go to the University of Florida in Gainesville and speak your hate. That's fine. Go ahead and do that. But just know that there will be people there just in case your hate speech turns into hate actions. And when Dick speaks, he is rather Well, he incites reaction from his audience. We're going to play a little snippet of him now, and I hate to do that because I don't really want to give him voice, but I think it's important for us to realize that there actually are people like this in the USA today. So, ladies and gentlemen, here's Dick.
Hail Trump! Hail our people! Hail victory!
Okay, so this is at his rally. Now, these people are giving the Nazi salute, charging forward, and you can hear them. Now, they do sort of look like extras from The Man in the High Castle. Nazis in suits.
No one will honor us for losing gracefully. No one mourns the great crimes committed against us. For us, it is conquer or die. The mainstream media, or perhaps we should refer to them in the original German, Lügenpresse. It's not just that they are leftist and cucks. It's not just that many are genuinely stupid. Indeed, one wonders if these people are people at all. Or instead soulless Gollum, animated by some dark power to repeat whatever talking point John Oliver stated the night before. To be white is to be a striver, a crusader, an explorer, and a conqueror. We build, we produce, we go upward. And we recognize the central lie of American race relations. We don't exploit other groups. We don't gain anything from their presence. They need us and not the other way around. Within the very blood in our veins as children of the sun lies the potential for greatness. That is the great struggle we are called to. We are not meant to live in shame and weakness and disgrace. We were not meant to beg for moral validation from some of the most despicable creatures to ever populate the planet. We were meant to overcome all of it, because that is natural and normal for us.
And if that doesn't make your toes curl, I don't know what will. That is truly horrifying. And that, right there, is the reason that the governor of Florida has declared a state of emergency around Gainesville when this fucking idiot is going to speak there on Thursday. And in tech news, because it is Tech Tuesday, scientists in the US have been using artificial intelligence to predict whether breast lesions identified from a biopsy will turn out to be cancerous. Now, this machine learning system has been incredible. It has been tested so far on 335 high-risk lesions, and it has correctly diagnosed 97% of them as malignant. The great thing about this is it's going to reduce the need for unnecessary surgeries by, according to the scientists who invented this, more than 30%. Now, I don't know much about artificial intelligence, and when I read this article, I sort of picture the robot in that Will Smith film, I, Robot. You know, the I did not murder him, and he slams the table. That one, that's sort of how I see this as. It's sort of this robot walking up going, hello, I am your artificial intelligence. I will now examine your breasts. And he gives him a little squeeze. You'd have to have silicone fingers so it's not uncomfortable. But I don't actually think this is a robot. I don't think it's that kind of artificial intelligence. I think it's probably just a computer. But what they've done is they've trained it on information about these lesions. And as it goes on and it diagnoses more and more correctly or incorrectly, this computer, or robot, as I like to think of it, is learning, which is just mind-bogglingly cool. My computer doesn't learn shit. In fact, I think it gets more stupid the longer I have it on. You know, I'll sort of go, okay, why are you doing that now? Yesterday when I pressed that button, you didn't do that. Now you're doing that. Why? And why the lights just, what the fuck is what is happening? My computer is not. Mine is artificially unintelligent. But this one, very smart computer. It's just really cool. I love it. And This will also be used for more than just breast cancer. Right now the study is on breast cancer, but it will be widened to other forms of cancer and then potentially other diseases as well. It's great. I mean, it will cut down on, well, like I said earlier, the number of surgeries, but it's also going to cut down on medical costs, because now you don't have to go through that very expensive surgery. You've just got a robot, or probably just a computer, having a look at something on you going, yep, that might be malignant, or no, that isn't malignant. It's brilliant. I love it. Technology is fantastic. But you know what is not fantastic? That awful music you were playing. What was that? It sounded like a child on a keyboard. Awful. If we're going to make Tech Tuesday a feature, which we're probably not, don't worry, I don't ever want to hear that awful thing again, okay? Thank you. And finally, we could not finish today without talking about Donald Trump's little tantrum about Barack Obama. I know, I am also getting very tired of Donald Trump just continually comparing himself to his predecessor. I don't think I can remember another president in history who does it quite so often as Trump does. And this particular comparison he's making right now stems from the fact that last weekend 4 soldiers, US soldiers, were killed in Niger. And he hasn't said a word about it. He's tweeted a lot about the NFL. He's tweeted a lot about just nonsense and shit that nobody cares about. But he has not said one word about these 4 US soldiers who were killed in action this weekend. And this all started when this was brought to the president's attention that he hadn't made note or called the parents of these soldiers. Well, he immediately jumped on the reporters and said, no, well, you know what? Neither did Barack Obama. He didn't call any soldier. He didn't fucking care. He just sat there in his office watching TV, never made a single call to dead soldiers' parents. Well, some people who were in the Obama administration fired back very quickly saying that is just completely untrue. President Barack Obama did in fact call a lot of parents. So then later in a press conference, Trump seemed to sort of back off just a little bit of his claims that Barack Obama never called them. But he did have some interesting excuses why he had not.
I will, at some point during the period of time, call the parents and the families, because I have done that traditionally. The traditional way, if you look at President Obama and other presidents, most of them didn't make calls. A lot of them didn't make calls. I like to call when it's appropriate, when I think I'm able to do it. All right, Peter, go ahead, Peter.
Earlier you said that President Obama never called the families of fallen soldiers. How can you make that claim?
I don't know if he did. No. I was told that he didn't often, and a lot of presidents don't. They write letters. I do. Excuse me, Peter. I do a combination of both. Sometimes it's a very difficult thing to do, but I do a combination of both. President Obama, I think, probably did sometimes, and maybe sometimes he didn't. I don't know. That's what I was told.
That's just awesome. Thanks, Donald. It's really hard to make a phone call. Did you catch that? That was his excuse. Well, sometimes, it's just quite difficult. I got to pick that phone up, and what happens is when I pick my phone up, I have every intention to call the parents of these soldiers that died fighting for our country, for my country. But I see the little Twitter icon right there, and it's like an addiction. I probably need help with it because my thumb literally cannot go to the phone icon. It hits that Twitter icon, and I can't help it. So sometimes I will call the parents, but it is very hard to do. It's hard. Making phone calls it's a fucking difficult thing to do. You know that. It's hard to make phone calls. But then, to make things even worse, Donald Trump decided out of nowhere to bring General Kelly into this, saying that Obama never called the Kellys when their son was killed in action. Now, General Kelly has yet to comment on this story, but he does know very well how much Barack Obama cared for fallen soldiers, because at a private event, which was a breakfast for Gold Star family members, President Obama and Michelle Obama invited General Kelly and his wife to sit at their private table so they could issue their condolences about his son. So Donald Trump's sort of tantrum here seems to be backfiring on him a little bit, and some of the Democratic aides and people in the Democratic Party have had some spectacularly good words to use for Donald Trump. One person referred to him as a deranged animal, which I love that one. That is the former Deputy Chief of Staff for Operations under President Obama. A deranged animal. And a spokesman for the Democratic National Committee said that Donald Trump had told a totally irresponsible and disgusting lie. And General Kelly is now being called upon to put an end to this, in quotes, inane cruelty of Donald Trump by commenting on this and saying, look, Barack Obama really did care about the fallen soldiers. Donald, just get on with your fucking job. And on that, we are out of time. So thanks very much for joining the conversation. It was fun as always. We'll do it again tomorrow. If you want to continue the conversation, we can do it on Twitter at So This Happened, or if you're old, we can do it on Facebook. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe and write a little review on the podcast and recommend it to a friend or an enemy, depending on how you feel about it. Anyway, take care, good night, and I will see you mañana. No, not at all. Turn that shit off. Thank you.
China.
There are no strong neighbors, and you can actually see Russia from land here in Alaska.